Researcher Jane Madison arrived at the Foundation and picked up her schedule for the day. Her first task was to perform a preliminary diagnosis on a newly recovered subject. As she walked towards the room where the subject was being housed, she quickly ran through the notes about the SCP. There didn't seem to be anything to be concerned about, which relieved Jane. She was always nervous the first time she met a new subject, especially if they were known to be dangerous. This case was classed as safe, so she was confident she didn't have anything to worry about. The subject was a young girl that had been recovered during a search of a laboratory. Jane opened the door and walked into the room. What she saw made her cry out in horror. Nothing could have prepared her for the sight before her eyes. The little girl was hardly recognizable. The majority of the left side of her face and skull had been removed. Her right hand and right foreleg had been replaced with steel and carbon. Her lower jaw, teeth, and larynx had been removed, and what looked like a feeding tube was protruding out of the back of her neck. Jane couldn't quite believe what she was looking at. What on earth has happened to this poor child? Welcome back to SCP Exposed. Today we bring you the safe class subject SCP-191. But before I go on, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on any more SCP stories. SCP-191 is currently housed in a 6 meter by 6 meter room at Site-17. To date, SCP-191 has not made any requests for furnishings or entertainment. Current furnishings include the following: 1 wooden frame futon with a 15 centimeter pad and standard cotton bed sheets and blankets. All sheets are to be sterilized each morning according to standard procedures. The futon pad itself will be replaced every 6 months, and the old pad discarded through incineration. 1 standard 220V type G-power outlet with an emergency cutoff box, fuse, circuit breaker, and manual non-insulating guillotine located outside the cell. 1 standard hazardous waste disposal unit. All drainage tubes shall lead directly to an incinerator unit. SCP-191 is to be dressed in loose, sleeveless garments made of 100% long staple cotton. Fresh clothing will be provided once daily, with used garments sterilized according to standard procedures. Bathing is to be done once every evening in a wash tub filled with a solution of water and baking soda. Feeding in the form of a sterile saline solution supplemented with vitamins, minerals, antibiotics, and a mild anesthetic shall be carried out twice a day via injection into a metallic tube located in the base of the neck. She is capable of limited self-care, including draining waste and recharging internal batteries. A log shall be kept of power consumption, and any unusual changes in power usage reported to supervising staff. Daily inspections for injuries should be carried out after bathing. Should she require medical care, refer to Documents 191 Alpha, Special Medical Needs, and 191 Alpha Supplemental Repair of Non-Biological Components before administering care. At least 2 armed guards are to be present in the room anytime that personnel have contact with SCP-191. Although a translucent screen may be utilized for privacy purposes, standard anti-computer countermeasures are ineffective, as her components have been hardened against electromagnetic pulse. SCP-191 is a female human child, approximately 10 years old. She is believed to have been a test subject of several experimental surgeries performed by the late Dr. Mark Wilson. 80% of the left half of her face and skull have been removed, with the eye and ear replaced by a complex transceiver system that allows her to receive and transmit not only visual and auditory input, but a wider spectrum of electromagnetic radiation, ranging from low-frequency radio to high-energy gamma rays. Her lower jaw, teeth, and larynx have been removed. The esophagus has been rerouted to an artificial orifice at the back of the neck to act as a feeding tube, and the trachea is routed directly to an air filtration device. Due to these alterations, SCP-191 is incapable of speech, although she has been reported occasionally vocalizing distress through rapid respiration. An input-output device has been placed into her right forearm, replacing the radius and ulna bones. The device contains interfaces for a variety of modern and obsolete formats, including USB, Ethernet, and FireWire. The device can be accessed by pulling back the skin over the right arm like a shirt sleeve. A 24-core processor array has been implanted in her brain, which translates input from all artificial components, essentially allowing SCP-191 to read and write computer data without the use of an external interface. Internal communication is carried out through fiber optic cables implanted through the glial cells and the entire nervous system. Damage to the brainstem and cerebellum due to the implantation procedure has severely damaged her motor skills. Her right hand and right foreleg have been replaced with artificial components consisting primarily of steel, carbon fiber, and an unknown polymer-like substance. The exposed areas of tissue are susceptible to injury and infection. Due to damage to the spinothalamic tract, SCP-191 has reduced pain and temperature sensitivity in her limbs. Reconstructive surgery by Dr. Jacobs was able to provide some relief, but regular doses of antibiotics and analgesics are still required. The lungs, heart, and major blood vessels have been replaced with mechanical analogs. It has been determined that this system would allow SCP-191's bodily systems to be restarted after death. Her digestive system has been completely reconfigured to the point where regular food intake is both unnecessary and dangerous. Waste is now disposed of via a drainage system located in her lower back and consists of a thick, dark gray viscous slime. Her reproductive organs, uterus, ovaries, etc. have been removed. According to notes recovered, this was done to provide extra space by removing non-vital components. Hormone therapy has been proposed to counteract the long-term effects of the missing glands. This proposal is under review pending analysis of possible complications. She has at least 15 other alterations of unknown purpose. Given this fact and the haphazard integration of the useful components, it is believed that they were performed merely to test the viability of such procedures on other subjects. At present, any theories as to the purpose behind these alterations are speculative at best, as Dr. Wilson died during the raid in which SCP-191 was recovered, and the only surviving records of his research are a single, half-burned, spiral-bound notebook consisting mostly of cryptic notes regarding a higher purpose. SCP-191 was recovered by Foundation agents during a brief collaborative effort with the Global Occult Coalition, in which a raid was conducted on the laboratory of Dr. Wilson, a suspected member of an anti-Foundation group. She was the only test subject recovered from the laboratory. All other test subjects expired during the raid, either disposed of by Dr. Wilson or eliminated as hostiles by the task force. Preliminary assessment concluded that full reconstruction was impossible, that the components introduced were too technologically advanced to risk becoming widely known, and that it could be a source of valuable data if kept alive. Subject was classified SCP-191 and moved to Site-17. Her disappearance and those of the other test subjects was later blamed on a local serial killer who was arranged to be killed in prison while awaiting trial. Dr. Glass completed a psychological analysis on SCP-191. The following is a report of his findings. SCP-191 has responded fairly well to containment. She is completely docile and cooperative, and when not being interacted with, she spends most of her time sitting still or curled up in a fetal position. This may be a sign of distress, but it is more likely for physical comfort, as normal body movements and postures are difficult. Mental acuity is questionable, although capable of rapid data analysis and communications when physically linked to a computer system. She seems unable to follow conversations with human beings unless the conversant speaks slowly and uses simple words. Complex tasks are also impossible unless she is guided at every step. Her mood seems consistent, though somewhat inscrutable. She continually affects melancholy, will not make eye contact unless asked to, and any attempts to induce a cheerful or humorous mood have proven fruitless. However, she shows no signs of ongoing mental distress and claims through a computer interface that she is feeling well. To date, SCP-191 has not requested access to or information about any acquaintance she had before her abduction. What do you think about that SCP case? Please leave your comments below.